Thank you. I'm honored to be with you today for your commencement from one of the finest universities in the world. Truth be told, I never graduated from college, and this is closest I've ever gotten to a college graduation. Today, I want to tell you three stories from my life. That's it, no big deal, just three stories. The first story is about connecting the dots. I dropped out of Reed College after first 6 months, but then stayed around as drop-in for 18 months or so. People are really quick. So why did I drop out? It started when I was born. My biological mother was a young unwed graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates. So everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother found out later that my mother had never graduated college and my father had never graduated high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would go to college. This was the start in my life. And 17 years later, I did go to college. But I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. And all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required class that didn't interest me and began dropping in on the ones that looked far more interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have dorm rooms, so I slept on the floor in my friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottle for the 5-cent deposit to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 mile across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it. And much what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at the time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations. What makes great typography great? It was a beautiful, historical, artistically thorough in the ways that science can capture. None of this, none of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me, and we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautifully typography. If I had no if I had never dropped in on the single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced the font. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them.